as promised, Danielle Shay, VP of Options at Simpler Trading, joining us to discuss a wide range of things. You just heard a few. Great to see you as always, Danielle. It's been a busy week with Jerome Powell. We'll get to some of the reaction from what was said both yesterday and then again today that seems to have caused a bit of a sell-off here. But let's talk about Elon and Tesla, shall we? Because Elon comes out this morning and says Gigafactory Texas, I guess, is just a big furnace and a money pit that he just continues to shovel money into. What are you doing with Texas and Tesla right now? Help us out here with this trade. Is there one, first of all, and how do we approach this?
So here's the thing. I'm a huge Tesla fan, but I actually have been going into this quarter in particular bearish just because of all of the macro factors. I was not anticipating his comments yesterday, and I think that his comments were particularly negative, and it only, gives me more confidence in my short this quarter going into earnings. But I mean, long term as a shareholder, I have to hold and I have to continue to add to this stock. I wanted to show you this chart because Tesla and the pre-earnings timeframe, this is just one of these charts where, historically what this chart does is it highlights the time frame prior to earnings. Okay. And we are now in that time frame pre-earnings, even though it doesn't seem like it, it's June, but we are. So if you look at the last two quarters, this red area right here, what that's demonstrating is that we really ended up trading lower on Tesla going into earnings and then post earnings, which was really the first signs of the crack in this amazing stock. Previously, I mean, this used to be one of the easiest trades that I would do. I would go long going Tesla into earnings. But you know what? This quarter for me, because we've shifted into the downtrend, because they have way too much Bitcoin, and look at the Bitcoin prices. I mean, right here, I think once it hit 750, it was a short. So I actually got Tesla today. Yeah, this morning, I got short Tesla, and I'm going to try to trade it down to 650 as a swing trade.
How much attention are you putting on July 25th, by the way, is the next earnings day for Tesla? How much attention are you putting, or how much weight, I guess, are you putting behind, this whole Twitter distraction when it comes to Elon? There's more and more, comments on, is he too distracted at this point to, really manage the company?
I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but I mean, me personally, I don't find that to be the biggest issue with Tesla stock. I really think that the larger issues are everything that's impacting the entire country and the entire world. I mean, you've got the rising dollar, you have high inflation, you have the supply chain shortages, you have the semiconductor shortages, but I think Bitcoin is going to be the biggest problem for Tesla. I think that Twitter is given as a little bit more of an excuse for the downtrend that we've seen in the Tesla prices. But I think overall, it's just a macroeconomic condition.
Which is a great point. And, it's interesting. I was out just walking around our neighborhood on the weekend, and it just seems like there's every corner you go around, there's a Tesla sitting there, and then one drives by and then another one on the other. They're just everywhere at this point. So all kinds of demand, obviously. Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about the overall market. We had testimony both yesterday and today, obviously, from Fed Chair Powell. And it was a very kind of hard stance on what they're planning on doing. He's not, holding anything back when it comes to these comments, saying that, they're going to use anything and everything when it comes to, measures to fight inflation. Give us your take here on the overall market. First of all, how are you approaching this? I mean, you've been leaning on the short throughout the year. Are we still in that mode where any kind of pop, as we're getting here, might be a shorting opportunity?
So, when you look at the Fed in general, and I look at especially the intraday charts, this is my intraday grid right here, where I like to look at the S&P futures, NASDAQ futures. I mean, we've seen so much choppiness over the course of the past 2 days, which is so typical whenever the president or the Fed is speaking. But what normally happens is the big move comes post-Fed or post-president, because what generally happens is traders are sitting here saying, please, dear God, tell us that you are going to stop all this craziness with the rate hikes so the market can go higher. And what happens every single time is he comes out and, time and time again, he's incredibly strong in his convictions with continuing to raise rates, which of course the market hates. So what I typically see is I see this consolidation and I see this chop, and this is the time to look for trades. And then after the talks are over, usually we go lower because he's not saying anything to save the market, but there's hope out there he will, right? So I think right here, I personally have started getting short again. I will tell you that I do think it's a pretty aggressive level to do so. If you look at the S&P futures on a daily chart, I mean, we only rallied up to the 8 EMA. That is an aggressive level to get short. Yeah, we're on the off of the lows, but I mean, if I'm wrong here, what I'm going to do is I'll cover my shorts and then I'll try to get short again around 3,900. But for me, with earnings season coming up, there's way too many comments like Musk's comments yesterday that I think are just going to continue to drag on the market throughout July.
Yeah, it would appear, as far as the all clear is concerned. I want to bring the guys in here real quick, but before we do that, we had a great question from a viewer the last time you were on about, you mentioned the put-call ratio and how it was at long-term highs, essentially, on the put side. How much of a weight do you put on that as an indicator for the overall market? So that's A. And then B, FedEx aftermarket tonight. Are you playing this?
Sure. So if we look at the put call ratio, I mean, basically what's happened with this, and I can bring up this grid here as well, is that over the course of the past week, it has been all over the place. What I think this is demonstrating is that people are confused and they are not sure which way to go. Okay. So normally what I like to see as far as the put call ratio is I like to see it consistently trending in one direction. All right. Now, last week when we talked, it got really high. It was consistently trending higher. But over the course of the last week, it's like it's up one day and then it's down and then it's up and then it's down. And, the weirdest part about it is that even though the market has been trading higher, the put call ratio has gone higher, which normally you see the inverse. Okay. So because the put call ratio is still elevated, though not as high as it was last week it was up at about 1.2. This week it's about 0.8. There's still a risk of short covering and a short squeeze, but not as high as what we had last week. So that's why I started getting short, but I will keep in mind, be careful, because if there's some sort of news catalyst, which I don't think there's going to be, we still could have short covering.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you for coming here. Now, Brennan sort of stole the thunder. I was going to ask you about some earnings tonight, but specifically,
yes,
it was going to be FedEx. Now, I know that these last few earnings cycles, the play has been shorting opportunities, and I know you've mentioned that a few times here. FedEx, it just made an interesting bottom. I mean, several times it just found support at $200, and I'm not talking once or twice willy-nilly. Like, it's actually had these breakdowns where you'd think, okay, it's going to capitulate, and then it's managed to recover off of these levels. It's done a good job of doing that. Now back above the 50, trying to clear the 200 period moving average. Like, it's showing some signs of strength, and I just sort of wonder, at what point do you start thinking about, and I'm not saying you were going to short this thing, but at what point do we really start to think about, these are starting to make some turns and temporary bottoms, and we might be starting to break out of some levels because, I'm seeing what was a fantastic trading opportunity off 200 basically every single time you've taken this trade, if you have, and I haven't. FedEx has been good to you, and now we're well above that going into earnings.
Looking at this chart right here, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's done a decent job bouncing and it looks strong. And overall, earnings, they're not terrible. If you look at the course of the past 9 quarters, they've beat estimates 5 times. They've missed 4 times. I mean, it could be worse, right? I wouldn't say it's incredibly strong. But when I look at this chart and I look at the gaps, I can see that it's just incredibly mixed. So for something like that, I would normally either A, make a neutral trade, or B, wait until after earnings, because especially for something like this, there's a possibility that it did well throughout this quarter, but FedEx, any kind of logistics company like this that's delivering packages, I mean, they're going to have a major impact due to energy prices. And I imagine that's going to be a negative impact. So I have gone into earnings with the mindset of really anything that's been strong. Okay. So I was looking at this one on CNBC yesterday, Accenture. This stock, for example, they've beat earnings 8 out of 8 quarters in a row until, yesterday or today, I guess. And, this quarter was the quarter that now they're down 3.6% because of the macro conditions. So I think that going into earnings on anything, especially something like this that has a, big macro impact due to the gas prices, I think you have to lean to the short side or just wait until after the report.
I think you're right about that. And like you talked about fuel costs. I mean, throw in labor is an issue for them as well. If you mentioned Accenture, and the first thing that pops into mind is a flash crash. Because I always feel like, and I could be wrong about this, but that back in the flash crash, wasn't it Accenture?
It was also Procter, I think.
Accenture and one other company had like the worst of the big cap that went to almost like zero. They broke those trades, but I just get flashbacks of that day when you say that stock.
Fun times, fun times. Danielle, look, hi, how are you, by the way? So I was just saying this into my head here. I gave you a hard time about your hair, but today you came with a brand new hair game, so I got to say, it looks really nice. So I like that game today, and I see you're changing it up. So Danielle Shay wins again today, but you talked about plays heading into earnings and things like that. For me, the number one name today on the sticky note was Snowflake. And the reason why is because we get that double upgrade from JP Morgan. And I'm really feeling like, and I don't know if you heard a little bit of a rant before you came on, and it's just like, I feel like these names have been so beat down that the FOMO is like to the upside. It's like there's so much panic buying when these names come out with good news that it's like, oh my God, we missed the bottom. We got to get in. We got to get in. And it's like, if JP Morgan likes it, therefore we like it. But we've seen so many upgrades and downgrades almost go the other way. It's just, I'm really excited for tomorrow to see the next stock that gets upgraded that's been beat down. Like a DocuSign, a Zoom, Palantir, a Snowflake. I mean, we can go on and on. Basically, just open up Kathy Wood's positions and find one there that you like. And if that gets upgraded, I feel like there's monster runs. I mean, I don't know if you have the Snowflake chart up, but maybe you can show this, Lucas, right here. This is that key level of 140 right there, and then we have that bottom of 110. So it's not that 110 was ever coming into play, but a couple good up days here. Then the double upgrade as we run to the 50-period moving average right now of 150 on this name. We've taken out that 140 now, hence why I'm holding this trade. I'm long down at 132 right now, so it's almost $10 here in the money. What do you think of that idea, maybe? Getting in there. The problem with the idea is that the upgrades happen overnight. So it's not like I can position in an option play or anything like that until the next morning. Today it would have worked on Snowflake because Snowflake opened up and went down into that 132 where we were able to get long here. Lucas, if you could show that. We were able to buy some of these prices down here, 134, 132, sold it on the way up, and now we're looking at the high of the day one more time here. So do you like that strategy maybe of waiting until 9:30, 9:35, seeing if you get the other way and not paying that huge IV on a name like a Snowflake, especially if it goes the other way on you?
So, first of all, I like it because it's your strategy. I mean, hey, it makes sense. You're an awesome day trader. For me, I try to stay more on the swing trading side. And so for me as a swing trader, I look at it and I'm like, I see that resistance up at the 50 simple and it gives me pause. But as a day trade and looking for it to trade up into the 50 simple, it makes total sense. And, I have seen a lot of interest coming into these names on the lows. I do think that ultimately on a swing basis, once we get into earnings season, we're going to see these names start to get crushed again. But I don't think there's anything wrong with coming in and trading them for a day or two. And, as far as options is concerned, with names like this that have really high IV, that's the exact moment in time where you can come in and sell puts. You can sell puts, and in case you actually do want to pick up the shares, you can do that naked, or you could sell spreads because of the high IV involved.
Okay, I mean, I like all of those plays, and thank you for that. You like the idea because it's mine. I like that. That's fun. But again, Danielle, great having you on. Thank you so much. Is there, and I know Brennan went over some Tesla talk there. You did give some ideas. Is there like a 5-star idea that maybe you have right now? Is there a name potentially that we haven't mentioned yet that you're looking at for a little of a shorter term play, maybe a week or two, something like that? Anything you want to give to the viewers?
Yeah, of course. So, I get a lot of heat for this, and I would love to see what you think about it. But I have been eyeing the ARK stocks, okay? And I've been looking at this ARK investment. This is the inverse ARK chart. I think this is one of the most bullish charts out there right now. I think it looks great. I know that people have been coming back into the ARK stocks for the past couple days, but if you look at the top ARK stocks, okay, you've got Tesla that we already talked about, has earnings coming up. You've got Zoom. Zoom has been doing pretty decently well, bouncing off the lows, but then look at Roku. You know, Roku is right now, it's bouncing, but it's trading right up into resistance. So what I've been doing is I've been looking at these stocks and I've been looking at the way that they've been rallying over the course of the past couple days. And I'm saying, hey, guess what? Because they're rallying, now is the time to start looking to short either ARK, or you can get long the inverse ETF, which is SARK, or you can just look at these individual names, because while I think they're, you know, bouncing a little bit, the Fed this week and everything else, I think that ultimately as we get into July and we get closer to earnings, they're just going to roll over and die again.
Did I just say you just jinxed something right there, Danielle? Just,
What did you jinx?
No, because like Roku, I was just in a Roku short as a day trade because it's been hugging the 50 period, and every time it gets to that price, I just kind of think risk to reward. It's been paying you, and you might have to take as a day trader. You probably have to take sometimes multiple swings at it to finally get that, and you have to be willing to risk stopping it out. Yeah, but I'm with you. Like when this closes above the 50, like then I'll start thinking about this breaking back out. And I get it. It's up like a few days in a row here, but it's still in a pretty much a downward trend, and it has that resistance. So I'm kind of with you on that trade. I think it's more difficult to express as a day trade as opposed to a swing, though.
Well, you know, actually, I like it, though, because, I mean, you guys are trading it to the upside because it's rallying now. And I mean, I don't really like to day trade too much. I really like to swing trade. And for me, when I see those big moves on an intraday basis, that to me just sets up a swing trade, because the market has gotten so beat down. It's been hard to short anything the past couple of weeks. So it needed to rally to get more entries in with the longer term trend.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll give you one better. Have you heard of TARK yet?
What?
That's
TR?
two times ARK long. So it just started in May, so I have it up right now. I was just thinking, if you really, it's probably not option eligible or anything yet, but TARK, I'm bringing a new name to you, Danielle, Shay, and to the viewers here today. It's a double, 2 times ARK innovation. So you see, just in the last couple days, if you really want to get spicy with it, you go from $15 up to $21 in a couple days. So that might be one up 11 and a bit percent. Maybe we can find a TS ARK, and then we'll go the other way on that one. But before I let you go, Miss Shay, we do have a question here from Irish Mac right now on our chat. He's obviously been a big fan and knows, because we haven't talked about your affiliation with Texas or KC yet, but he wants me to ask Danielle, who has better barbecue? Is it going to be Austin, Texas, or I guess maybe we can even just go by the states, but let's go with Austin or Kansas City. It's on you. I also have here King of the Grill. I got this for Father's Day, and then we also have a steak on here as well. So I'm going to throw that back to you. Kansas City, obviously very famous for barbecue, as is Texas, or as is Austin. So let's hear your opinion.
So here's the thing. I was born and raised in Kansas City. My whole life I've eaten Kansas City barbecue. I just went there a month ago and I stopped by every barbecue place I could find. I absolutely love Kansas City barbecue. But then guess what? I married a Texan, okay? And he makes amazing barbecue. Definitely different, but now at this point, I can't say I like Kansas City better.
Got it. I get that. So yeah, me too on that one as well. So thank you, Ms. Danielle Shay, VP of Options over there at Simpler Trading. We love having you on, one of our favorite guests. Yeah. Be well, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Ciao.